Hello, you gorgeous individuals, it's Kav here, and today I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated releases of 2018. Just 2 days ago, I celebrated all of my favorite books of 2017 with you all. I will link that video in the description below for you to check out my favorite reads of 2017. And now I thought that to kick off 2018, we can talk about what books I am most excited for. Now, I did quite a lot of research towards the end of November about books that I was anticipating coming out this year. Obviously, this is not all of the books I want to read this year. There are so many more great releases coming out, and obviously we do not know as many releases in the second half of the year because it is so much further away. So this is more first half of the year heavy. The first two books I am anticipating are actually already out. The first one is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and this one was out on January 2nd. The Cruel Prince is essentially a book about political intrigue set in a fairy court, and I saw quite a few arcs of this go out after BookCon of last year. Everyone I know absolutely adored this book. I have loved all of her work so far, so I think this will be a great series because I actually really want to read more about fairies. Since there's a lot of different folklore kind of surrounding them, I think there are a lot of different directions you can go with fairies. The next book, which also came out on January 2nd, is Meet Cute, Some People Are Destined to Meet, which is actually also one of the January choices for the Book Bound Society, and I am super excited for this one as well because it's just an anthology of like cute short romance stories, and I have heard some mixed things about this one, but I am still excited to read it for myself because there are some great authors that I know that are working on it. I am excited to read it this month. The third book is actually also already out. It came out on January 2nd as well, and that is Chainbreaker by Tara Sim. This is the sequel to Timekeeper, which is actually the Pride-a-thon choice for January, and we chose this book because we wanted to celebrate the release of Chainbreaker. I don't really want to go too much into it because of course it's a sequel. Essentially, the Timekeeper series is Victorian era. It has a male-by-male romance, and those are just a lot of words that I love, and put them together and I think you will make a wonderful story. The next book on my list is Love, Hate and Filters by Samira Ahmed. I was lucky enough to receive an arc of this novel, as you can tell, and I absolutely adored it. I will leave my Goodreads review in the description below for you all to check out all of my thoughts on it. Essentially, this is a YA contemporary about an Indian American Muslim teen, and I absolutely loved it. It is own voices representation, and it targeted some really important topics such as anti-Islam behavior in this country, and by this country I mean America, for those of you who don't know where I live. And I think that it is such an important read and everyone should have it on their TBRs for 2018. The next book is Let's Talk About Love by Claire Kahn, which I was also lucky enough to receive an arc of, so I will link my Goodreads review of that one in the description below. I have mentioned multiple times how much I love this novel. It was on my favorite books of 2017 list because there are just so many good things about it. It is a YA contemporary that features a cute romance, but it also tackles some really important topics. The main character is a black biromantic asexual girl, and the romantic interest is Japanese, so there is obviously a lot of diversity in this novel, so it tackles important topics while also being a cute romance. And my favorite novels are contemporary novels that are the combination of those exact two things. The next book on my list is The Bells by Danielle Clayton, and this one is out on February 6th. And if I'm being honest, the primary reason why I am anticipating it is because I am a huge fan of Danielle as a person. She has done so much for this community, and she often talks about the importance of diversity, which you all know is basically what I do in this community as well. So that's actually the primary reason why I'm anticipating it, but I know multiple people who have received arcs of that novel and who have really enjoyed it, so I think that I will enjoy it as well. The next book on my list is A Girl Like That by Tanaz Batana. This one is out on February 27th, and I am very highly anticipating this read. I haven't actually heard many people talk about it, so it kind of came up on my radar while I was searching for new books, and since then I have just been so interested in it because I think the premise is really cool. It's basically about a character who's kind of seen as a troublemaker. She's kind of a bad girl, the type of girl that your parents would warn you to stay away from. And there's this other character who, you know, only had eyes for her, so I'm assuming there was some sort of romance there. The two of them are found dead in a car together, so I think it kind of unfolds why that happened. And from what I've heard, it deals very heavily with topics of race and religion and all of those important topics that need to be discussed. The next book on my list is also out on February 27th, and that is The Serpent's Secret by Sayantani Dasgupta. And as you can tell, I was also lucky enough to receive an arc of this novel, which I am highly anticipating because it follows an Indian main character named Kiran Mala, who is essentially a regular 6th grader living her life until her parents are mysteriously taken and she then finds out that she is a real Indian princess. I think that that premise sounds so cool, and I'm so glad that we are getting more novels that kind of deal with Indian mythology and with Indian settings written by own voices Indian authors. The next book on my list is actually one of my most anticipated reads for this year, and that is How I Resist: Activism and Hope for the Next Generation. And this is an anthology featuring many different authors. As you can tell from its name, it's essentially about activism and resistance, so I'm sure all of you can infer why I would be so interested in it. The next book on my list is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. This is out on March 6th and I'm highly anticipating it, but again, this is one that I don't have too much information about. The primary reason why I'm anticipating it is because I have seen many people get arcs of it and say absolutely brilliant things, and why I'm so interested in it is essentially that I know that it deals with heavy topics such as race, sexism, colorism, and all of those different topics that I think are important and need to be talked about. The next book on my list is Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake. This is also out on March 6th, and if you have watched my favorite books of 2017 video, you know that How to Make a Wish by Ashley Herring Blake was on that, so of course I'm anticipating this one. The premise of this novel is that there is a main character, Ivy, who's essentially the survivor of a tornado that destroys her house and displaces her family. She feels very alone and looked over during this time, and then all of a sudden her notebook of drawings with girls holding hands goes missing, and then she starts receiving some of these drawings back with notes telling her to be more open about her identity, and she believes and hopes that these notes are coming from a girl she has a crush on, and I think that that is a great premise and I'm super interested in it. The next two books I have also come out on March 6th, and the first one is Bygone Badass Broads: 52 Forgotten Women Who Changed the World. This is by Mackenzie Lee. If you don't know, Mackenzie Lee essentially did this Twitter thing where she would regularly tell stories about a forgotten woman who had contributed to history and, as stated, was essentially forgotten. So now she is literally writing a book about it, about 52 different women who have changed the world, and I think that is so cool, such a cool premise, and I am so excited for it. The last book that is coming out on March 6th that I have on this list is Barbed Wire Heart by Tess Sharp, and there is not much I know about this novel other than the fact that it's written by Tess Sharp and that it has a morally ambiguous drug dealer as the main character, and that is enough for me to be interested. The next book on my list comes out on March 13th, and this is Chaotic Good by Whitney Gardner. I was a huge fan of Whitney Gardner's first novel, Your Welcome Universe, and I was lucky enough to receive an arc of her next novel, which I am highly anticipating. It is essentially about a girl that likes comics. Somehow, even at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, it is still this weird thought that girls can like geeky stuff, so I'm glad that Whitney is going outside of these bounds to write about a girl that likes geeky stuff, because it's normal and it's kind of stupid that people still treat it weirdly. The next book on my list is probably one of my top 5 books that I am excited for this year, and that is Tyler Johnson Was Here by J. Coles. This one is out on March 20th. If you don't know, I adore J. Coles. I admire him so much, so I am so excited to support his work with this novel. Tyler Johnson Was Here is about a black boy, Tyler, who goes to a party with his brother Marvin, and obviously they think they're just going to a party, but that night Tyler is found missing and he is then found dead, and I just know that this is going to be a book that deals with important topics like racism and I'm sure many others, and I am just so excited for this novel. The next book on my list out on March 27th is probably another one of the books that would be on my top 5 most anticipated releases of 2018, and that is Arusha and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi. This is a novel essentially based on Hindu mythology. It is based roughly on the Mahabharata because the main character, Aru, is a reincarnation of one of the 5 Pandava brothers, and I am so excited to see a novel like that written by an actual Indian Hindu author, since I'm sure that she knows what she's talking about, and this novel is essentially my dream come true, so I am so excited for it. The next book on my list is A Reaper at the Gates by Saba Tahir, and I have heard multiple different dates about when this novel is coming out, but the one I originally found was April 24th, so that's what I'm going with, but I might be wrong. A Reaper at the Gates is the 3rd book in the An Ember in the Ashes series, and obviously considering it is the 3rd book, I don't want to go too into it, but all I can say is that you need to get a jump on this series because it is lovely and great, and if you would like to check out my full number in the Ashes review, I will link that up here because I don't want to spoil anyone in this video. The next book on my list is Leia on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli, and this is also out on April 24th. Everyone and their mother knows that I absolutely adore Becky. I am so excited for this novel. Leia is the best friend of Simon from the Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda book, and so this is kind of a spin-off about her, and I am so excited for it because Leia is a badass plus-size bi drummer, and all of those are great qualities. So I just cannot wait to read this book because I know I'm going to absolutely adore it, just like I've adored all of Becky's other work. The next book on my list is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, and this one is out on May 1st, and I don't know literally anything about it other than it's by Angie Thomas, and it is also set in Garden Heights, but it is not a sequel to The Hate U Give, and I really don't need to know anything more because, as we all discovered in 2017, Angie Thomas is brilliantly talented, so I cannot wait to support more of her work. The next book on my list is The Way You Make Me Feel by Maureen Gu, which is out on May 8th, and again, I don't really know too much about this novel. Maureen Gu's first novel came out this year, and I didn't have a chance to read it, but I heard brilliant things about it, so I'm excited to support her by picking up her second novel, hopefully. The next book on my list is Put In by Julie Murphy, also out on May 8th, and I don't want to say too much about this because it is the sequel to Dumplin', which is actually being made into a movie, which is a great reason for you to go pick up the book. And Dumplin' features a main character that is fat and essentially enters a beauty pageant, and I'm not really gonna say anything more. All I can say is you should read it so then you can watch the movie and you can read Puddin'. The next book on my list is Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake, and this is out on May 15th, and yes, we are getting 2 books from her in the same year. This one deals with a much heavier topic, and I want to give a huge content warning because essentially the entire theme of this novel is rape. The main character's twin brother is accused of raping one of her close friends, and that is all I know about this novel, and essentially that's all I need to know because I trust that Ashley went about the topic well and properly, and I think that these are important novels that we need to have because these are important discussions we need to be talking about. The next book on my list is The Brightsiders by Jen Wild, and this is out on May 22nd, and I am so highly anticipating this novel. Queens of Geek is one of my favorite books of all time, and it is also by Jen Wild if you didn't know. So I am super highly anticipating this next novel by her, and it is essentially about a main character who is bisexual. She is a teen drummer who's essentially branded as Hollywood's latest train wreck, and I am just so thrilled for this novel. The next book on my list is one that I am so highly anticipating, and that should come as a surprise to literally no one. It is From Twinkle with Love by Sandhya Menon, and that is out on May 22nd as well. I am just so highly anticipating this one. Obviously, all of you know that When Dimple Met Rishi is one of my favorite books of all time. That book literally meant the world to me. In some ways, I'm even more excited about From Twinkle with Love because it features a main character who is an Indian filmmaker, and I mean, hello, look at exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm an Indian person making films, and it also features a cute romance, which, you know, Sandhya is the best at if you've read When Dimple Met Rishi. I'm very excited, as you can tell, like, super excited. The next book on my list is Final Draft by Riley Redgate, and it features a main character who is a writer and who is essentially the apple of her creative writing teacher's eye, but that teacher is replaced 3 months before graduation, and the new teacher is not as easily impressed, so the main character essentially makes her goal to impress this new teacher, and I think that's a super cool premise, and I have heard brilliant things about Riley's previous work. I have 7 Ways We Lie. I have not read it yet, but I have thought that all of the premises for her stories have been really cool, so I am highly excited to support her with this novel. And in case I didn't mention it, this one is out on June 12th. The next book on my list is Finding Yvonne by Brandy Colbert, and this is out on August 7th, and I read Brandy Colbert's novel Little and Lion back in 2017, and it was so good, and that has essentially made me want to pick up all of her future work. But I also think that the premise of this one sounds really cool. Essentially, the main character is a violinist who has to deal with the fact that she might not be good enough to get into the school she wants to go into, and then she unexpectedly gets pregnant, and I'm sure that that takes her on another wild ride, so I'm just super excited to read this one. The next book I have is To Be Honest by Maggie Ann Martin, and this is out on August 21st. Essentially, this features a fat main character who has a mom who puts a lot of pressure on her weight, and I'm sure you can infer that she does not put pressure on her in a good way, and from what I could tell from the summary, I think it also has a cute romance, so I'm excited. The next book on my list is Toil and Trouble, 16 Tales of Women and Witchcraft, which is out on August 28th. And all I know about this anthology is women, witches, diversity, and Tess Sharp, and that is enough to have me interested. The next book on my list is The Golden Tower by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black, and this is out in September. There is no specific date for it yet, and there are two reasons I can't tell you anything about this novel. One is that there is essentially no information available yet. Two is that it is the final book in the Magisterium series, so I wouldn't want to say anything that would be a spoiler. All I can tell you about the Magisterium series is that it is a middle grade series that deals heavily with magic, and I have loved it so far, so I highly recommend getting started on it. The next book on my list is probably another one of my top 5 most anticipated releases of this year. What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This one is out on October 2nd, and all I can say is that everyone and their mother knows that this is a dream come true. These two authors working together is perfect because they are best friends in real life. We either get to see a very happy Adam or a very sad Becky, and I'm not sure what to expect from this novel, but I am excited for it regardless. The next book I have is also out on October 2nd, and that is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. This is kind of the sequel to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. It's about Felicity, who is the sister of the main character in The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, and I am almost 100% sure that Mackenzie Lee has stated that the main character in this story is asexual, so I think that that will be some great representation if I am correct. The next book I have on my list is Blanca and Roja by Anna Marie McLemore, and I don't really know much about this other than the fact that it's by Anna Marie McLemore, and that's all I need to know, so I'm gonna read it. And now, finally, for the last book on this list, the number 1 book I'm most anticipating for this year, the book you all have been waiting for me to mention, Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This one is out on December 4th, 2018, and that seems so far away, but I just try to remind myself that the original release date was actually in 2019. This is the conclusion to the Dark Artifices trilogy, which is objectively Cassandra Clare's best work in terms of plot, writing, characters, and diversity, and those are all characteristics I look for in novels, so I am so excited for this novel for multiple reasons, but primarily because I know that Cassie is best at writing the 3rd book in a series. For example, my favorites of her work have been City of Glass, City of Heavenly Fire, and Clockwork Princess, which are all the 3rd book in their trilogy-ness things, even though The Mortal Instruments is a 6-book series. It was originally supposed to be a trilogy. After reading Lord of Shadows in 2017, I know that it is her best work so far, objectively, so I know without a doubt that Queen of Air and Darkness is going to be the best book she comes up with so far. It is so far away, but I am sure that that just means that it is going to be more worth it in the end. That was a lot of books on this list, but I am highly anticipating all of them, and obviously this list did not cover all of the great releases coming out this year, so please let me know if you have any other books you are anticipating in 2018. If you are anticipating any of these, let me know, or if there's a completely different book that wasn't on this list, also let me know in the comments below, because I want to know more about what type of books you all enjoy. That was all I had for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you got some new bookish recommendations, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe because that stuff makes me happy. And as I said, go ahead and comment down below some of your most anticipated releases for 2018. And as usual, all of my social media and my groceries will be in the description below if you'd like to check me out anywhere else. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you are having a lovely day or night wherever you are. Please remember, you're beautiful and you deserve the world, and I will see you next week with a brand new video. Goodbye!